Anyway, let's check out this one. Analysis: the simplest fighting games. I'm not big on fighting games myself, and the main reason is I tend to start button mashing when I get into stressful situations. And when you button mash in a game like this, it might work in a casual, hey, you're playing against your friends and drunk, but anything more than that, and it's gonna go very badly.
In Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, you can fight
That's a random game to choose. Okay.
as a Little League baseball coach named Junpei Iori that has a baseball gauge that's unique to him. If you hit an opponent or hit their projectile, you score a base. If you whiff, you get a strike. If you get hit,
What a weird system that is. What the fuck?
you get an out, and if they block your attack, you get a ball.
Okay.
When you get 10 runs, you automatically activate Victory Cry, which makes you more powerful, and every 10 runs after that increases your strength further. I could go on, but you probably already have more questions than answers, one of which might be, why do I gotta learn that? It's mechanics like this that give anime fighting games the reputation of being creative but complex in a genre that's already notorious for its complexity. At this point, you might be tempted to point out that complexity does not equal depth, and maybe mention
Dive Kick, the most amazing fighting game experience on the planet. Dive Kick defies conventions. 6 buttons? No. 2 buttons. 1 joystick? Try no joysticks.
Dive Kick has an excellent
Isn't this kind of like oh, what's the game called? No, it's not that. Fuck. I guess in a sense it's kind of like the is it that one? Yeah, it's kind of like the duck fight of fighting games, where duck fight is a very simple, like, arena action game. This is a very simple fighting game. It's not the best comparison, but that's the closest thing I can think of in my head.
complexity to depth ratio, probably the best in the business, and it's a game you can easily dive into and enjoy with almost anyone. The Dive Kick universe is basically a parody on fighting game culture, and at the risk of giving the devs too much credit, a masterful satire on the very idea of fighting game accessibility. I mean, they made a controller just for the game with hilariously large and colorful buttons, as if to dare potential players to make the excuse that they suck at fighting games. While Dive Kick is fun and can even be competitive, it departs from the typical 2D fighter so much that it kind of creates its own subcategory. I mean, there's no walking in it. But what's so significant about this game is that it allows us to visualize a spectrum of potential fighters with many different levels of complexity. While this is a great avenue for innovation, there's always going to be that nagging feeling that we're just dumbing things down. This nagging feeling hit critical mass when it was rumored that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite would be replacing Dragon Punch inputs with a much simpler down-down punch input. It turns out the original Dragon Punch input is still there, but the reaction to the rumor was telling. These kind of changes made to accommodate new players have left veterans rolling their eyes when they hear the word accessibility. So much so—
This is like, this is a problem that sort of affects every single kind of game. Something I have a lot more experience with is MMOs. And whenever MMOs go and, like, streamline older content, you have the, like, 1,000, 2,000 hour Andes who are like, well, they didn't suffer through what I suffered through. They shouldn't be here, right? Fighting games have been having intense difficulty arguments even before FromSoft made the topic explode. This is what I've been saying. Wait, FromSoft? What's FromSoft got to do with it? I'm not sure why you brought up FromSoft. What MMOs do I like? I played a shitload of RuneScape as a kid. I played RuneScape for like 6 years. More recently, I played FF14. I played that for, I don't know, 700-800 hours. I'm not playing MMO now because, look, I just don't have the time to play an MMO. Oh, when Sekiro released, people were saying, please easy mode. Right, that's what you meant. Okay. But yeah, MMOs are the same thing, where it's like, oh, why make it easier for people to get into the good part of the game? They should struggle through it being bad, or like the game gets good after 500 hours kind of idea. And I guess to some extent fighting games suffer from that as well. Like I'm not like super in depth on the topic, but my understanding is like the joy of a fighting game comes from actually your combos doing what you expect. Because it's one thing to have fun, like, as a casual player, just at a party. But once you actually feel in control of your character, I would imagine that's where the game, like, really starts to shine.
So that accessibility is often followed by the assurance that depth will not be harmed in the making of the game. I don't doubt that this is possible, but just like how you'd want to know how your zero-calorie soda preserves its flavor, I think it's worth looking at how accessible games try to preserve their depth.
Now Diet Coke has NutraSweet.
Has Diet Coke been around that long? Sorry, we're going to sidetrack for a bit. When was Diet Coke released? 82? What the fuck? Wait, what? Okay, I didn't realize it was that old. Sorry, we got side tangented. Coke Zero, which is more popular. I don't know the difference between Diet Coke and Coke Zero. So we're gonna side tangent on this. What is the difference between Diet and Zero Sugar Coke? Diet Coke and Coke Zero are both sugar-free. Diet Coke uses aspartame for a lighter taste, while Zero Sugar uses aspartame and acesulfame potassium. I see. Okay.
The three categories of game accessibility are cognitive, motor, and sensory, and usually they refer to features that assist people with disabilities. For example, the blind Street Fighter player Sven has been using the 2-channel stereo sound effects to know which side of the screen he's on to defeat his opponents. While sensory accessibility like this is mostly for—
No, that's actually super cool. The fact that somebody is a competitive fighting game player and blind is actually fucking crazy.
people who have difficulty seeing or hearing, cognitive and motor accessibility are often for people without disabilities as well. One of the big cognitive accessibility goals in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was to reduce the amount of gameplay decisions you'd have to make at the character select screen. This is because the more decisions you make throughout the day, the worse your decisions will become, a phenomenon known as decision fatigue. Decision fatigue explains—
Hey, when was this video? When did this video come out? 8 years? Oh, it's 8 years ago. Oh, it's still getting shit. Oh, man. Oh, that's so, oh. Okay, what is No Man's Sky sitting at now? No Man's Sky. Is it, like, mostly positive now? Where are we at? Very positive. Very positive. Yo, how you doing, Neil? Welcome.
will become, a phenomenon known as decision fatigue. Decision fatigue explains why judges are known to make less favorable decisions later in the day, and why you buy that candy bar you didn't need at the end of your grocery shopping. Decision fatigue can eventually lead to decision avoidance, which in the gaming world means—
I just finished recording an episode of the Pseudo Show. Ooh, how'd that go?
I ain't playing that. In Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you have to choose 3 characters and a type of assist for each one, making it a total of 6 decisions. For those who don't know, an assist is when you call out a teammate briefly to help you out in—
This is how I feel when I play Mario Kart. It's like, pick a character, pick a vehicle. I'm like, I pick the one I think looks cool. I'm sure the stats matter, and different tracks have different metas, and different cups have different metas. Fucked if I know what they are.
battle. In Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, they reduced teams to only 2 characters and removed the assist mechanic altogether. Now you only need to make 3 decisions, 2 for choosing your character and 1 for choosing an Infinity Stone, an item that gives your team special abilities. Aside from being a clever multi-channel marketing tool to tie the game into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Infinity Stones act as a way to maintain depth without having to learn a third character. Combine this with more flexible tag options, and you have 2 characters with extra abilities as opposed to 3 characters with different assists. I don't know how much depth this will maintain, but it's clear they made a serious effort to try and preserve it after dropping 2 major aspects of the past 2 Marvel games.
We have Marvel 2, and you call your assist to cover yourself and go back and forth and kind of have like this whole cover me aspect, right? And even in Marvel 3 is sort of the same, right? A little bit more balanced, but now Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, more freeform, way more freeform.
As for motor accessibility, the classic example is making special move execution easier to do. This was actually a good thing when Street Fighter...
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, how easy do you make it though, right? Because if you remove the complexity of it, it removes one of the main core joys of a fighting game. Now, sometimes you're gonna have really fucking weird bindings that don't make any sense. But you don't want to go too far where it's you can do your super move with 2 buttons.
Street Fighter 2 made special move input windows more lenient from Street Fighter 1.
Sure, that makes sense. Timing windows, I think make a lot of sense. Especially when you have real funky timing windows that are most people you could do the button inputs, but you just don't the timing is just way too tight.
A good thing when Street Fighter 2 made special move input windows more lenient from Street Fighter 1, which was just a nightmare to execute anything. But this wasn't enough, and by the time Street Fighter 4 came around, Dragon Punch inputs that were simply incorrect would work as long as the game thought you were close enough. This allowed comically sloppy inputs like this to work, and players actually created new strategies around them, like doing a Dragon Punch from crouching position. But why even...
That's an interesting one. Okay, that's actually a really interesting one. So, they simplified the combat, and that created more depth to it. Huh. Okay. That's actually kind of interesting. That's one of that kind of feels like wave dashing, right? Where it's this was not intentional, but it's something that the game allows you to do based on the way things are structured. Okay. But that's one of those things where it's accidental complexity. The devs didn't intend for weird setups like that to happen.
Keep motion inputs for special moves if so many people have trouble with them. After all, removing them would do so much for both motor and cognitive accessibility. The problem is, motion inputs are a part of what gives the game its depth. For example, the Shoryuken motion begins with the forward stick position, so it's easier to execute when walking forward and harder when walking backwards. Knowing this about your opponent is key to planning the best time to attack or defend. So what happens when you remove motion inputs from special moves and make them one button? Basically, some moves get too powerful, and the developer has to find alternate ways to balance them. In the case of Rising Thunder, each special move had a cooldown time like you'd find in a MOBA, so you'd have to wait until you could use the special move again. While this removed a massive barrier to entry, you still had to understand concepts like high-low blocking, dashing, throw-teching, damage scaling, stun, and an elaborate combo system. But what happens if you remove all that stuff too? Is the logical outcome something like dive kick? David Sirlin, the creator of Fantasy Strike, doesn't think so.
What I like to think of there's a spectrum where dive kick is on the far end over here. And when people play that and they say, this is really cool, what can I play next? The next thing I can play is a huge jump to all the other fighting games clustered on the other end.
Right.
And there's really nothing here. And so we're trying to be in the middle between dive kick and everything else.
While I describe dive kick as satirically accessible, Fantasy Strike is aggressively accessible while retaining enough elements of 2D fighters to stay in the broader genre. Basically, Fantasy Strike looks at Rising Thunder's accessibility and says, hold my beer. This game can literally be played with 3 buttons, 1 normal attack button and 2 special attack buttons. To do a super move, hit these 2 buttons at once. They also balance certain 1-button specials in clever ways. For example, there's a character named Geiger who is basically a function of Street Fighter's Guile. Guile's special attack inputs famously disallow him to do the move right after walking forward, a crucial aspect of his archetype. To make sure Geiger can't use his Sonic Boom or Flash Kick functions while walking forward, he has a cooldown period every time he press.
That's the same attack. It's the same attack, just like less flair to
the
it.
Move right after walking forward, a crucial special attack inputs famously disallow him to do the move right after walking forward, a crucial aspect of his archetype. To make sure Geiger can't use his Sonic Boom or Flash Kick functions while walking forward, he has a cooldown period every time you press forward, indicated by his gear icon. Attack variety is achieved by pressing a button while holding left or right, or while in the air, not too unlike Smash, but it's even simpler since up and down attacks don't exist in Phantasy Strike. Actually, you can play without any up or down inputs if you enable a jump button, which can be more intuitive for fans of platformers. And if you're wondering, there is no crouching in this game. That means two things. One, there's only a single type of blocking to worry about, which covers both high and low attacks, and two, it's now impossible to teabag. As for memorizing moves, most characters' entire move list can fit on one page, and life bars are comprised of units, not too unlike Hearts and Zelda, which allow you to see exactly how much damage is done.
A fun fact, Sonic games have a similar rule where every action must be possible with no more than 2 buttons. I didn't know that. I did not know that, but that makes sense.
And exactly how much life a character has. But hands down, the greatest mechanic is the Yomi counter.
He's Dio as well?
If someone is about to throw you, just do nothing and you'll perform a throw on them instead. This is so smart because when someone complains about your cheap throws, all you have to do is tell them to do nothing to counter it. If they still get thrown and complain, you can be like, oh, I guess doing nothing is too hard for you. You should totally email David Sirlin about that.
That's an interesting idea. Okay. Especially because a lot of casual players, like myself, tend to button mash. So it's like, it's one of those things which as an advanced player you would click with very quickly, but someone new would get caught by it a bunch. I like that. I actually really like that. I don't know how well that would work at advanced levels. I feel like at advanced levels that at advanced levels that would be let me see. Let me see if I can find a good example of it. Is there just a short video? Okay, there's not. So in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, if you you can dodge an attack right before it happens, and you get behind the enemy, and then you can punch them, and then they can teleport behind you and punch you, and then teleport behind you and punch you, and it just keeps going until you run out of ki. And this is like real. And at advanced levels, basically what happens is people just do 10 dodges in a row before they start fighting again. Most fighting games noobs hate grapples because they don't know how to escape grabs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This was because most platforms had a crazy amount of possible button types, particularly with Japanese controllers had more buttons. The game is not approachable without this kind of simplification.
That. All sarcastic trash talk aside, this truly is the game of thought experiments. But it's real, and it attains the goal of accessibility by quickly...
Oh, not only that, but they also categorize the characters into, the types they are. That's neat.
Game of thought experiments. But it's real, and it attains the goal of accessibility by quickly bringing a player from button mashing to playing almost entirely with purposeful decisions. This is also known as reaching intentionality, which I feel is required to fairly judge how good or bad a fighting game is. And this really hits the core of the fighting game problem. Even games like Guilty Gear Xrd, with one of the best tutorials and in-game learning tools out there, still requires weeks, if not months of practice to play with intentionality.
Right.
This frustration makes it tempting for people who have not reached this level to hastily deem the game's advanced mechanics as unnecessary or otherwise illegitimate. Neuroscience scientist Sam Harris made an analogy to describe contempt
Sorry, I did not expect a Sam Harris mention.
practices, which is incidentally instructive to this issue. Imagine where astronomy would be if everyone had to build his own telescope before he could even begin to see if astronomy was a legitimate enterprise. It wouldn't make the sky any less worthy of investigation, but it would make it immensely more difficult for us to establish astronomy as a science. Basically, Phantasy Strike only requires you to build the simplest telescope to see enough of the
video
celestial
is brought to you
brilliance
by
of 2D
Phantasy
fighting
Strike.
games to understand their appeal. And it might even inspire people to build more powerful telescopes to see the full spectrum of what the genre has to offer. Let me know in the comments what you think about these more accessible
Right,
games.
I forgot about
This was
Socrates.
Gerald from Corey Gaming. Thanks for watching.
Like, my issue with fighting games isn't that I don't like the concept. It's the same problem I have with RTS games. It feels like the barrier to entry to actually enjoy it is like way up here. And if you're someone who's like, you're like, I really want to get into fighting games, or if you've been playing fighting games your entire life, like it's something you're like already into. But for somebody new, this is like an it's yeah. They demanded a minimum amount of mastery. Exactly. Yeah. I don't have the patience for that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and this is a problem that like shooters don't have, for example, right? Actually, this is actually a perfect comparison. So in an FPS game, the core basic gameplay, the gameplay loop of any multiplayer FPS is pretty straightforward. You can start assuming you don't get fucking put in a sweat lobby, you can start enjoying a shooter pretty early on. But the advanced stuff comes later, like map awareness and knowing when to use your like additional gadgets like grenades and stuff. But with a fighting game, that complexity is like right there at the start. The first fight you're in, like everything is available to you. Well, they have difficult execution to do it well, but you can execute, like, if you're playing a shooter, you can hit a target from the start. You don't necessarily have the ability to hit a combo from the start in a fighting game. So you might not be competent at a shooter, but you can at least feel like you're the one playing it. In a fighting game, it kind of feels like the game is playing itself and you're just guiding it along until you actually have that intentionality, that control. FPS games have better granules for skilling up. Again, unless you get yourself in a sweat lobby. if your first match of a shooter is in a sweat lobby, good luck. Have fun. I do kind of miss when there would just be, like, you would play a shooter, and this was pre-esports, or like early esports, where there wasn't all of these people that are like, I'm going to go pro, I'm going to play as hard as possible. You would have people just doing stupid things. You would have people that were AFK. You'd have people that were just like running around even dumber than you are. That's kind of the reason I don't play FPS games anymore, like multiplayer FPS games. Because it kind of feels like every time I play, or like the reason I stopped playing Marvel Rivals as well, it started to feel a bit too sweaty, where everyone was trying. Obviously, you want to try to some extent, but everyone was like try-harding it. No one was playing dumb characters. No one was playing characters they're not good at. Even like casual lobbies, it was starting to like it was starting to just suck the fun away. I'd argue it's even more difficult. That's why you see different configs, like mouse refresh rate monitors and FPS being more important. Also, aiming has to be trained on top of that. Okay, that's fair. I don't play multiplayer games anymore because it's literally the opposite of fun. Like, the only multiplayer games I play are games, I like co-op games, right? In a co-op game, it's different. Like, if you're playing Monster Hunter, and you have someone come into your lobby to help you fight a monster, them being better than you doesn't really, like, it actually makes your experience better, right? Or games where it's multiplayer, but the multiplayer aspect kind of exists separate from the core game loop, like Path of Exile or Diablo, where yes, it's a multiplayer game, but like you never have to interact with other players. They exist for the sake of you getting gear, basically, and there's a chat room. That's, yeah. PvP is where it starts getting, where it's like a little, I personally can't have fun with PvP stuff that much anymore. Like, I've played quite a bit of Marvel Rivals. What did I play? I played, back when it came out, I haven't launched in a bit. I played 106 hours, right? Like, I haven't played a crazy amount, but look, it's still fun. But the once I get a sweat lobby, I'm just like, I can't. I am too old. I am too old for this. It's just not gonna happen.